Good afternoon, everyone. I'm delighted to have this opportunity to chair this panel discussing a topic that's very close to my heart, which is closing the skills gap of today and enabling the workforce of tomorrow. This topic is not only close to my heart because one day these young people will be shaping the world that we all live in, but also because I know that if we can hand over the world to competent hands, it means that we can all retire at some point in peace. Many of you in this room will be aware that skills development amongst young Londoners facing the biggest barriers has been a long priority for Mayor's Fund for London, which I'm extremely proud to be a trustee of. And this particular conversation that we're having this afternoon is timely, given the London Growth Plan launched by the Mayor and London Councils only last month. And I'm going to give you some of the stats, because I've enjoyed reading some of the London Plan. I can't claim to have read all of it. But the Growth Plan identified that London is crucial in the UK's economic success. And if you've been watching the news, you know that growth is very much on the agenda for the government. But London contributes £1 to every £4 that's generated by Treasury. That's a quarter of the Treasury's revenue. Yet since 2008, when we had the financial crash, London's productivity has stagnated. The London Growth Plan sets to build on London's successes over the next 10 years, kickstarting a new era of sustainable, equitable growth, creating approximately 150,000 jobs. But who's going to deliver on this for us? We know there's a shortage of skills and resources to fill the jobs. So the discussion I'd like us to have this afternoon is how do we, as London's business sector, how can we help skill up and prepare young people facing the biggest barriers in London? How do we enable them to access these jobs? How do we optimize the talent that exists in our young people? Although after listening to Alexander Frank just now, I don't think we need to do anything. But businesses consistently say that the lack of skills, and I just to give you a little bit of an intro, I'm a trustee of the Mayor's Fund, a non-executive director of the UK's government's Department of Business and Trade, but I'm also a business owner. I'm an entrepreneur who started off my own engineering business 15 years ago. And I know, based on my experience, that the lack of skills and talent is the biggest barrier to growth for businesses in London and beyond. So the challenge for London is to grow our skilled workforce in this new reality. How do we do this? How do we close the skills gap and enable the workforce of tomorrow? Because ultimately, it will benefit all of us. So what I am going to do is enable the fantastic panel that we've got sat here with us to introduce themselves, but also while introducing themselves, give us a bit of an insight into your perspective of how we close the skills gap based on your experience to date. So I'm going to start with Sarah, Freddy, Ruth, and then Alina. So over to you.
Yes, thank you so much for that, Roni. I'm Sarah. I was on the Access Aspiration with MFL whilst I was in sixth form. Since then, I was able to gain work experience and paid employment with one of MFL's partners. Since then, I've also joined an early careers programme with a global insurer called Markel International, just down the road from here, and I've been on their apprenticeship programme since 2022. I am currently working as a business analyst, and my insight here today is to talk about early careers and those pathways that you can provide to young students who want to get into organisations, a different route from the traditional going to uni and then gaining a grad programme and working a 9 to 5 from there.
Thank you, Sarah. Freddy.
Hi, I'm Fred. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Wild. Wild's mission is to help customers remove single-use plastic from their bathrooms with innovative, refillable personal care products. We started about 5.5 years ago. Have gone from a team of 3 to a team of 100. Been a fun growth journey, and as part of that, have done a lot of hiring, made a lot of mistakes, try and get a lot of young people in, and a couple of reflections from me on the topic. I think one of the hard things we find about broadening our talent pool is people knowing what a startup is, and that again is a career and something you can come and do. I think probably for me, the softer skills are something that I look for more, because the only thing that you can guarantee in a business like Wild is things are changing all the time. So really for me, things like resilience and a growth mindset and how you train that, before people come into the workforce, how they feel ready, how they feel prepared for the tools, and how they feel you get a lot of opportunities with a company like Wild. It's growing really, really fast. And, the great talent is able to adapt and grow and flourish in a business like ours. And so it's really, encouraging those mindsets. Of course, AI, digital, data, these harder skills are important, but we invest a lot in L&D, and we put a lot of, that space is moving so fast, you can train a lot of that. So for me, it's about softer skills and really helping the workforce feel ready and prepared for the chaos that a business like Wild gives people joining it.
Thank you, Freddy.
Great, thank you. My name is Ruth Duston, and I know that I'm down today as the Chief Executive of London Heritage Quarter, but I also own my own business, which is known as Primera, and we are a regeneration consultancy. I specialise in the creation and development of something called business improvement districts, which are these small, locally led business partnerships that operate throughout the United Kingdom. There's over 350 of them, and there's over 75 across London. And we have a portfolio of 14 business improvement districts across central London. We generate about £20 million a year, and that's all reinvested back into these very local areas. London Heritage Quarter is a portfolio of 4 of those business improvement districts operating across South Westminster. From my perspective, I've worked within socioeconomic regeneration for a very long time, 30 plus years. And I started my career in East London working in training and education. So I've got quite a strong skills and training background. And my own personal journey hasn't been a straightforward one. I certainly didn't follow the normal academic routes that a lot of people followed. So it has been an interesting path that I've travelled to get to where I am today. So I think my motivation is very much about how we can work with the younger workforce across London, but really providing opportunities for some of those Londoners. And one of the things that struck me in the last presentation with Howard and Alexander was I do think that there is a lot of good work happening amongst the private sector, a lot of opportunities that are being generated within the very large, big corporate organisations. But I don't think we should lose sight of the medium-sized and smaller business community as well. And not always does a large corporate environment suit everybody. I think it's about thinking more widely about some of those other opportunities in smaller workplaces, which sometimes lend themselves better to people's different skill sets. So from my perspective, it's very much about how we can bridge those gaps, how we can make those opportunities much more well known to the younger generation. And I think from a business perspective, how we can communicate more, working with stakeholders like yourself, but also having that direct relationship with the younger community of London as well.
Thank you, Ruth. Alina.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alina Gheorghiu-Currie, and I'm the Director for Heat Networks for Vattenfall Heat UK. I've been working in low carbon and renewable sector for some time, and I think the scale of the opportunity for jobs and growth in the sector is still just as exciting as it was 15, 20 years ago. There is more urgency now. We're getting very close to the deadlines for meeting some of our net zero targets. And for me personally, today is just to talk a bit more about a particular challenge in the heat sector. People might not know, but a third of carbon emissions annually come from heating our homes and businesses. And this is still a big challenge to try and achieve the transition to low carbon. And the heat network sector is a new sector. And I guess my personal passion is to try and continue to grow the sector, which does require a lot of skills. It will generate a lot of new jobs, and I can come on to that a little bit.
But yeah, it's really just trying to make sure that we communicate how attractive this is a sector for, not just in heat networks, but the green sector is for young people. And what I've already learned today is better communication, better information, earlier outreach with the future, skills and jobs that are going to be needed, because this is a multi-decade growth opportunity for the City of London and the UK. And I can come on to a bit of that more later.
I've got an incredible panel. I said this before. I think they have all the answers to all the problems that we've been discussing. And I'm hoping in the 30 minutes I've got that we can solve this problem, this massive problem, which for me, it's very much a solution rather than a problem. And I think the issue sometimes is with the narrative of we're trying to find jobs for young people. Actually, we're trying to fill the vacancies that we have across the sector. And I'm going to come to you first, Alina. You mentioned before that we require a lot of skills. You've got this incredible opportunity in your sector, which requires a lot of skills. We've got young people in the room and other businesses in the room. Can you talk to us about what future skills are crucial to enable people to succeed, young people to succeed in sectors like yours? Yeah.
So just to give you a bit of background, in case I think most people might not be familiar with what district heating is. Effectively, it's like a central heating system for a town or a district. So we take heat in a centralized location and then transport it through insulated underground pipes to homes and businesses. And the use of heat networks removes the need for individual boilers, individual sort of heat sources within homes, and can take advantage of waste heat sources that are being generated throughout the city. So this could include energy from waste facility, data centers, but also other ambient sources of heat, like in water. So you can use water source heat pumps within a centralized location. And the reason this is important and why it's a growth sector is that currently about 2 to 3% of homes and businesses are being serviced by heat networks. But in order to meet our ambitions of net zero, we need this to be around 20%. So there's a huge amount of investment needed. It's estimated 60 to 80 billion by 2050. And that also will create, it needs a lot of jobs. It's estimated that about 30,000 jobs are needed to be able to deliver this scale of investment. And that's both in the construction, the development, and the long-term operations as well. And so in terms of what jobs are important, it's some of the more traditional professional services, project managers, legal, financial, lots of engineering, and then lots of specific technical skills and technicians that are required specific to the sector. And we're at the start of a journey. The sector is new. We need to grow to the ambitions, and the company I work for, we're looking to invest about £1 billion by 2030. That does require a lot of people power, and trying to get those skills and young people interested in these sectors and this particular sector from early on is really important. And I think for us, I've learned so much already today, but we need to work with the experts. I work in district heating. I'm not an expert in how to reach out and get young people and primary school children, which what we've heard is important to reach these types of ages. We need to work with the experts in the room to try and get as many people excited about coming into these jobs, which pay well and will continue to be needed into the future.
Fantastic, thank you, Alina. Ruth, I'm going to come to you next. So I've been reading up on some of the stats of unemployment in London, and youth unemployment sits at about 17% compared to 14.8% UK average. So a lot higher than the average UK youth employment. What can businesses of all sizes, you're a founder, but also a chair of a couple of organisations, so quite busy. What can businesses of all sizes and sectors do collectively to support the success of young people from all backgrounds? So we're looking at Londoners from all backgrounds. What can businesses do? What has worked for you?
I think from a business perspective, as you quite rightly say, we work with a whole raft of different sectors, from some of the really large corporates based here in the square mile, right through to some of the smaller organisations, be they creatives, be they cultural organisations, be they new life sciences. So there's a real breadth of opportunity within these business improvement district footprints. I do think, and I kind of said it in my introduction, I think businesses need to be slightly more coordinated and organised. I think there is very much a silo mentality where they're all doing great things. They're obviously, you know, offering the apprenticeship programme, they're offering mentoring schemes. But I think collectively, what more could they be doing in terms of thinking about those opportunities? But how can they go beyond some of those? Before I came, I obviously made some notes and things. It's almost like a shopping list. You know, we offer the apprenticeship programme, we do the mentoring programme, we do work skills training, we support business startup. But how can we go beyond that and really engage with the younger youth generation? And I think it was Tina Ramdeen in the earlier workshop that I sat in on was talking about how we need to get into schools much earlier. And I think, you know, it's so true. I think we're just not engaging at an early age where we are trying to really inspire and generate that younger population, but not just inspire and generate, but give them confidence to want to try new things, to give them confidence to take up some of these opportunities. And I think it's okay not to know what you want to do. I think it's about trying lots of different things before you eventually land on where you want to get to. But through that journey and process, you're picking up such a rich mix of transferable skills during that process of trialling different opportunities and different things. And why not try something in the cultural sector? Why not try something in the corporate sector? But I think as a business community, I think we need to inspire and instill that confidence in younger people for them to want to come forward. Again, somebody was talking about barriers and people not feeling that perhaps they can come into these large organisations. I think we need to do more as businesses to think about how we break those barriers down, how we can be much more accessible, much more inclusive, so that we can really draw on that pool of what is a very rich and diverse London community. So I think there's a lot more opportunity, but I think businesses need to be much more coordinated in terms of how they approach that. And I think it is thinking a little bit more outside the box. It is being a bit more innovative, and I think it's trialing new ways and new methods of engagement.
It's a really rich response, Ruth, because we've had a lot of conversations today around the problems and the barriers, and this conversation is very much about the solutions, and it starts from grassroots. So if I look at the stats, say, in construction engineering where I work, where 16% of the workforce is female and something like 5% is from an ethnic minority background, but you go into schools and colleges and the percentages are exactly the same. We are never going to increase the numbers unless we get more coming through. So you're absolutely right on the sort of grassroots solution, but actually in business as well, thinking about inclusion is so important. Everyone's talking about diversity, but diversity means nothing if it's just a tick box exercise. It's very much about including people within the sort of communities and retaining them in those communities. So very, very rich response there. And I think, you know, for everyone in the room, it's really important that we walk away with a call to action, and that call to action is the solution that we're taking out of this discussion that we're having. So it's not just another discussion. So thank you very much, Ruth. Freddy, I'm going to come to you. I've got you down as a young entrepreneur. I feel like a young entrepreneur myself, but I'm not sure what my 21-year-old child thinks. But young entrepreneur and a business owner yourself, where do you see the biggest skills gaps? You touched on this before, but when you're trying, you've gone from 3 to 100. I mean, goodness me, that's fantastic. But what are the skills gaps? What are you finding that you're struggling with when you're trying to recruit people into jobs?
Yeah, as I said, I think, you know, for us, it's kind of people understanding that you can join a small to medium-sized business and what that opportunity can sort of bring. I think when I first got into entrepreneurial businesses, I applied to a company called HelloFresh when it was just starting out. and a lot of these companies, when you're small, you can't really afford to advertise your roles. So 5 people applied for that job. When I actually got the job, I could see 3 people dropped out. So they basically had to offer me had to offer me the job.
He's been humble, I'm sure.
But I then got into that, and again we went from 0 to 100 million in 6 years at HelloFresh, and I just went through this amazing, very, very steep learning curve and opportunity. And I think I got a bit lucky, but I sort of didn't really fit in with larger companies. I failed all the graduate schemes, all the personality tests. Just said I wasn't good enough. I couldn't do that. But I think I knew that there were other non-traditional routes that you could go into, and I was able to do that. Whereas I think a lot of people they're very blinkered on, or just they're not aware of the diversity of jobs and those different careers. And I think what can really inspire that is having role models, having examples, and as I said, trying to sort of tell your story and get people to see that there are plenty of different things that can do it. And we have lots of creative roles, we have lots of data roles, we have lots of financial roles. So there's a whole plethora of skill sets that could come and join a company like ours. And it's a lot about awareness. And then when people are coming to interview, as I said, a lot of it comes down to, and I think particularly for the generation coming up, it's about resilience, patience. You're constantly being lurched into difficult situations where none of us have ever done a lot of the things we're doing before, and so you're looking for people who can cope with that pressure, who can figure things out, and who enjoy the challenge. And that's a slight nuance to a more corporate traditional career where there's a lot put on a plate, and you're going to be at this level and this level and this responsibility and this amount. Whereas it's much more of a roller coaster when you join a business like ours.
So I'm going to throw you another question, Freddy, because it would be too easy to let you go on that one. But I hear what you say about not putting. I mean, I call it the shoebox mentality. Is that you think that you have to fit into a certain shoebox, and we're all unique and we're all very different. But your response there, and I'm reflecting on this as a fellow entrepreneur. Your response there is saying to the young person, don't put yourself in the shoebox. We understand that you're unique. Come through on that basis. But actually, I'm going to throw this back to you as the sort of recruiter, as the employer, is in that knowledge that potentially the young people presenting themselves to you may not be presenting their best self. From an equity perspective, how do you deal with that as an employer?
It's really difficult, right? And I don't have all the answers. And I think really what we try and pull out of people is the personality, and their, do they feel like they've got the energy and the enthusiasm? And we're willing to forgive a lot of, I'm dyslexic, so spelling mistakes or messing up in interviews, nerves, all that stuff. We try and look through it as long as you see those green shoots of this person has got a bit of passion, they want to do it, they want to do the job. And I'm just, a lot of companies now are 100, they would start to put in all these tests and things to screen, and I just really try and avoid that, because I know I would never have got a job if people had screening processes and been able to put me in that shoebox. So it's just trying to keep that breadth, and then being conscious about how we broaden out our kind of talent pool. But I think there is, for 100%, there is still a problem in small to medium-sized businesses where more well-off people can afford to take the risk. They kind of know about the jobs. And so we still have a lot of work to do in our sector to broaden out the talent pool and get more diversity and into it. And that's something we're spending a lot of time trying to work out how we can improve that.
Still working on.
Sorry, can I come in on that? Because you were saying about how to broaden the kind of recruitment pool. pull and how not to put people in shoebox. I think one of the important things that we do, and obviously because it's a new sector, people who have the exact skills that you need or just don't exist as many. But we do focus a lot on understanding people's drivers, their passion. Are they aligned with the mission that we're trying to deliver as a company? So for us, it's about enabling fossil freedom and using that as understanding in an interview process, are people aligned with the same vision? We do also talk about the values that we have as a company. So there's a lot of not specific, what are the specific skills, but how are you going to behave in this role and how are you going to contribute to the mission? And I think through those kinds of conversation, you can pull out a lot of things that might not fit a particular box. And I think that's really important to capture in a recruitment process and in a new sector. Where you do need to train people on the job. People will learn on the job. It's different. It's not the same thing every day, and that does bring in more diversity.
Fantastic.
Yeah, the other thing we're doing at the moment is we're doing year-long placements. So you can come in, even if you're not been to university, and for us, it's saying, look, come, and if you enjoy it and it works, there's an opportunity. And if it doesn't, if it's not quite for you and it's not right, hopefully you've learned something from being part of this environment and you've had some exposure to it and you know what you don't want to do next. So I think it's trying to give a bit more of a lower risk way for people to come and test different things and try stuff at the beginning of their careers and expose them to different parts of the business and see where they go. So we've got someone at the moment, Angel, joined us. She started in retail because that was all she'd heard of, and actually, she's 7 months in and she's decided she wants a career in operations. So we've kind of moved her across to operations. And I think being able to, now we're at a size where we can just say, you know what, we can see that you've got the right mentality and you're more passionate about operations than you are about retail. Let's make that happen for you and really invest in you for the long term.
Great, thank you both. I'm going to come to Sarah because we desperately need to hear from you. So we've got employers here sort of giving their insights into what solutions are. From your perspective as sort of a young person, what do you think employers should be doing? Do you agree with what they've suggested or do you have other solutions for us?
Yeah, I think the points made by everyone else are extremely important in terms of attaining and retaining young talent. I think, as mentioned throughout the day, is the earlier we can speak to young people, the earlier we can, get in and inform them of the opportunities out there, the better it is for them. And I think sometimes that even starts from the parents. There's parenting courses for, new parents, bringing their first child up, young children. But what about when it comes to the age where the children are now grown up and they're looking to, go out into the world by themselves? We need to also have that support for parents to then support their children when they're, moving into those fields. As someone who started off an apprenticeship, and I've got 2 older sisters who went to university, went down the traditional route, and then attained employment afterwards. To have that conversation with my parents, to sit down and say, I'm not going to university, I'm going into this full-time job, I'm working in this company, this is what I'm going to be doing. It was difficult for them to understand, and they did question me, rightfully so. And I think it was a lot of pressure for me to have to explain to them the reason why I was going down this route and the benefits of going down the early careers route rather than going the traditional route down university. I think if employers or other organisations who support with apprenticeships can create some space for parents to understand and learn about this, rather than it just being on schools and the students themselves, this then means that everyone involved in that person's next choice in their career is all on the same page as well. And I think it again takes away that stress that you have as a young person when you're trying to explain why you're going down this route. I think employers also have the responsibility of making sure that they're using modern recruitment practices when it comes to young people. You cannot, and you absolutely cannot, compare a young person's experience and values and beliefs to somebody who's got 10, 20 years worth of experience. The way that you recruit them, so personally when I was being recruited by the company I work at the moment, they didn't ask me for a CV. And I think as a young person at 18, that was very impactful because it didn't mean I had to, make up, and try and find all these examples from my school career of, why they should employ me. And it's so difficult at a young age to be able to put that on a piece of paper, because at the end of it, a lot of it is through, your verbal experience, so such as, doing presentations in school, the sort of extracurriculars that you had. And it's more based on those transferable skills that are more important. That's making sure that the person that you're looking to employ aligns with the company's values, and that you also align, that the person, as a young person yourself, you also see yourself fitting in with the values and the culture of the company that you're looking to work at as well.
Thank you, Sarah. I've got so many more questions, but we're out of time. Clearly what we've heard today is that the future of London, the future of our economy, depends very much on the actions that we take today, not just the actions that young people are taking, but the actions of organisations, and the decisions that we make today are critical for the future of our economy. So it's really important that we all walk away from this today with this call to action and solutions that we all take back to our businesses. Thank you very much. I think it's been a really incredible conversation, and I look forward to actually continuing some of the conversations. It's been really interesting. Thank you all.
Thank you.
I was expecting some music or something then, but it didn't happen. But anyway, yeah. Thank you, Roni, for chairing that. Thanks, Sarah, Freddy, Ruth, Alina. Really fantastic session. As always, there's too much to talk about in kind of 20 minutes, half an hour. But you kind of brought us full circle in some ways from where the Minister kicked us off this morning, setting out an ambition and really saying that it's up to all of us to kind of try and create opportunities. And then we heard from young people and leaders in community and in education thinking about what they could do. And then the Deputy Mayor and Alex put their kind of take on it. And now it's come back round to you saying, OK, so great, this is what we want to do. And I hope all of you today have got some, my head's buzzing with kind of ideas and opportunities and connections that have come from this. And so in a minute, when Noah and I have finished speaking, there is some time afterwards for networking, for kind of coming together and sharing those ideas and forging those partnerships. And please do that. Please, not just here, but afterwards. Today, lots of us have talked about today being a kind of starting point, a jumping up point, a chance to connect the dots, all of those kind of things. Don't go out of here and think, right, I'll go back to my kind of normal life and getting on in my own little kind of silo. However good a thing you're doing in there, bring that together with some of the other experience that you've heard about and you've connected with in this room. Think about how you can open up access to opportunities for young people. That came out so strongly. To be honest, I've been in this kind of world quite a long time. Many of you around, the faces that I recognise have too. We've been talking about this for a long time. So let's, as Roni was saying, let's really push ourselves to action after this. Let's try and think about how we connect those fantastic ambitions around policy that Howard and Claire and Alison were setting out, and think, well, how do we make that a reality for people? Not just for the young people now, but when we talked about play earlier in Chris's session, for the young people who are coming kind of 5, 10 years down the track. We've got a real responsibility. All of our team will be around who are here today to help kind of broker those conversations. But to be honest, you can look after yourselves, I'm sure. You can all get on and have it. The food here, as you'll have seen already, is amazing. It's really great. I know some people are fasting here today, but all of the food is halal and as inclusive as we can make it. But do enjoy the hospitality here and do share that time to network. You're all away from your desks and away from emails for a little bit. Use another half an hour to get what you can from it, because it's really been, I think, and I hope you think this too, an outstanding day. Before I hand over to Noah, just some quick thank yous, which I'm sure I'll miss some people. But first, thank you to all of you for being here. You're all really busy people. You've got, young people to work with. You've got businesses to run. You've got policy to make. You've got funds to give out. You've got funds to give out, some of you. But thank you for giving up your time this morning and making the connections. Thanks to all of our panelists and speakers. I think they've been absolutely amazing. Maybe give them another round of applause for them. And again, none of them, I don't think, none of them have asked for payment. None of them have kind of, asked for luxury transport or anything like that. You know, they're all here because they want to help and they want to be involved and they want to share with you. So it's great. Thanks to our trustees. I think this is as half a dozen of them, I think, have been here through this morning, which is really brilliant. Really, you know, trustees do an incredible unseen jobs in organisations. They're kind of behind the scenes, looking at the finances, wondering why things aren't quite going as the chief exec might have said they might go, all of that kind of stuff. So actually to have the chance for them to mix with some of you and hear about our work and hear from young people is really great. So I really appreciate that. And thanks, of course, to Bloomberg for hosting us. I mean, what a venue. How lucky are we all to spend our morning here, and how generous they've been, not just in terms of the space, but in terms of the technical support, in terms of kind of holding our hands, in terms of the security, in terms of the wonderful food and everything else. Really, really brilliant. Thank you. Let's give all that team a round of applause, please. And almost last, I just want to thank my team. I'm really lucky to lead the Mayor's Fund for London. It's, you know, those of you who've met our team members here today, and they're not all here. A number of them are back at the ranch, keeping things on the road. But you know, they're a really wonderful team, and lots of people have said to me today, "Oh, what a great event! Well done, Jim." And well, actually, I haven't done anything. The team have really brought this, particularly Jill and Dan. I don't know where they are; can't see them. It's too dark out there. But Jill and Dan, who some of you will have heard from during this thing, have really done an amazing job in pulling this together. But all of the team, it's been a real team effort. So can I just give a massive round of applause to them? Before I thank all the young people, just one thing that I think Freddy said on the last panel, but I'd heard it 3 or 4 times today. I think Freddy said, I don't know all the answers. And I think I might have said that earlier. Probably Claire said that. Sure, Howard Dorber said it. Like, yes, of course, we don't individually know all the answers. But look at the power in this room. Look at the connections that we've got. Between us, we do know all the answers, actually. Between us, we can, you know, make sure that London fulfills the potential that we want it to do. So thanks for an amazing morning. Before I hand over to Noah, because he's going to say some thank yous and some final words as well. But just thank you to all the young people who've been with us today and part of this, and bravely put themselves in front of the microphone, made the content that we've used today. Sarah's been there doing social media for us. A young person's been following the photographer around today, learning their trade, really helping us, really shaping this event. It takes a lot to do that, a real lot to put themselves out there and make themselves part of this discussion. But it's absolutely essential, as we've heard time and time again, that young people are not just part of the discussion, but they're leading the discussion. Hope we've managed to do some of that today. On that note, I should probably shut up and hand over to Noah, but thank you all again for coming along. Noah.
So just to kind of second what Jim's just said, you know, thank you to everyone that's come here. It's actually an honour to be kind of part of such a big event. We've got this many people here to all kind of talk about young people and the future of us and how we can kind of improve and grow. I just want to leave with kind of one final message. So it's vital that change happens to ensure that young Londoners are given opportunities, not just for our future, but for the future of all your industries, your sectors, and our city. We aren't just the leaders of tomorrow, but with lived experiences, we're the change makers of today, who must be heard, recognised, and given the chance to grow towards success. The decisions and partnerships that we forge today define the London of tomorrow. So thank you.